Hey guys, welcome back. That's SafeLine blocking a SQL injection attempt in real time. I've been running this in my own home lab for a couple of weeks now, protecting real services. And after watching a couple of others review it out there, I noticed nobody's actually tried to break it and nobody's checked what it's phoning home for. So that's what we're doing today. So what is a WAF? A WAF is a web application firewall, but you already know that because you're already home labbers. So I'm not going to delve into it too much, but if you're not and you're completely new to this, it's what's up here, right? It's an application firewall that sits between your service and the outside world and stops all the bad stuff. Simple, really. Now, there are already other WAFs out there. We've obviously got the ones at Cloudflare, which I use all the time. You've got Bunkerweb, which I've not played with yet. Maybe that's another video. And also the likes of CrowdSec, but they all do stuff slightly differently. And what really intrigued me with SafeLine, apart from CyberServal reaching out, was the fact it's all bundled together and you've got a nice little GUI. I love that. Anyway, I suppose full disclosure is, like I said, CyberServal did reach out. They did offer me a key to do this review, but no money has changed hands. They won't get to see this review before it goes live on the internet. So my thoughts are definitely my own. I suppose the things that will raise a few eyebrows with people is the fact that they are a Chinese company. But don't let that fool you. At the end of the day, I will show you exactly where the traffic is going. I can't show you what's in that traffic, but I can show you where it's going to and how often that cadence is happening. Either way, let's get on with the installation, which we're going to do via the quick route because we've overdone Docker Compose to death now, haven't we? So I'm not going to spend too much time whittling about how you want to deploy SafeLine. However, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use their automated script. So there are a couple of ways to deploy it. I can absolutely use that automated script. And if you want to actually look and delve into what the script does, I've had a quick look myself and there's nothing nefarious in it at all. You can manually SafeLine, you just may want to fix the spelling on that a little bit. From an install Docker standpoint, you can just follow the guides on here. You'll have to create an environment file, which you can fill in everything that you want to do anyway, and then deploy it. However, like I said, I'm just going to focus mainly on doing this approach. So I'm just going to hit screen, and that should run. So it will present me with this nice little ASCII loading page. Now what I'm going to do is choose what I want to do. Obviously I'm going to install and then input path to install SafeLine WAF. I'm just going to make sure it's on the default for now, just not to confuse anything, because this is only a test scenario that we're running at the moment. So while that goes off and builds everything, we'll just wait until that pulls down, and then what we should be able to do is navigate to the URL and get ourselves up and running. So once it's built this way, it will give you directly your logins. So obviously I would change this. Don't worry about mine being exposed here. This is not going to be persistent. So by the time you come around to seeing this video, this would have been moved on. So what we have in front of us is the software license agreement. Now, I'm sure you will spend the time to read that. I'm just going to crack on with it. And as I showed you at the beginning, it does pre-generate mine. If you use Docker, there's a command to get your admin first-time password. I'm going to log in, and we're pretty much set up and ready to go. Now, you'll see I'm instantly given access to do a 7-day trial. I do have a key. I'm going to activate mine a bit later. However, what I'm going to do before we do too much else is basically go into management, go into the admin center, and then what we would do is click on edit, and we would change that password and enable multi-factor authentication as well. So they're the couple of things I'm going to get done, but that kind of gives us an overview how to get it installed. So if you're wondering where SafeLine talks to, I'm just going to basically trigger Wireshark. So what I've done is I've set up unified port mirroring. So basically my Wireshark device is just getting every single request that comes in there, and I'm just deliberately filtering outbound traffic, removing all the other kind of discovery noise. So if I click a few updates, we'll probably now start to see what it's talking to. And I have gone and checked all of these IPs. Nothing in there really massively concerns me, to be totally honest, but that's up to you. That's your decision. So let's run a coordinated attack. So what I've done in SafeLine, just to kind of show you, I've done an early kind of just test run, but in applications, I've given myself this vulnerable app. And my app sits at the bottom. It's currently hosted on 192.168.30.161.80.80. What I've deliberately done is forced the port that I'm going to listen to on is 8081. So that's the one that SafeLine's protecting. Now, obviously, in a real world scenario, you'd be using a domain name here. So you'd have this something that was publicly exposed. But absolutely, you can use it internally as well. So if you want to use it this way. So that's how it works. So these are some that I ran earlier. What I'm going to do now is just do a live test. So that's the awful app at the bottom of the screen. So all it is a home lab gadget inventory. It's deliberately left exposed. What I'm going to do is first of all attack the app directly. So I'm just going to run OWASP zap on it. That's just going to do a little exposure test on it. So direct application scan at the moment. So that's going to hit that. I'll just let that complete itself, and it will write a HTML file, which we can have a look at a bit later on. And then what I'm going to do is hit it with Nikto as well. And then what we'll do next is we'll deliberately hit the SafeLine WAF afterwards. So let me just then run Nikto as well. Run that off. So that's just going to do that. So it's going to find some problems, as you'd expect. Let me just run and hit that one. Once that's done, we'll do exactly the same. While I'm doing this, I'm also recording the WireGuard as well. So the Wireshark. So I know exactly what's going on from Wireshark as well. So if it's talking out at any point, then I will know. So we'll cover that. Now I'm just going to do a clear to make this a bit easier. And then what I'm going to do is exactly the same thing with SafeLine now. So I'm going to hit directly that target, first of all with OWASP. So let's hit that. And we should start to see some queries hit this. I did find that when I did the testing earlier, the requests and that didn't update instantly on the home page. Nor did this, but you can start to see the queries coming in. So this should slowly start to update. It might just be my polling, and I am in incognito mode as well. So I'm not expecting it to always refresh as timely, but once we do a refresh in a moment, we can have a good look. So let's wait for that to hit. Not so many requests for that one, but you can see the blocked there. Now what I'm going to do now is hit it with Nikto, and this one definitely will force a few more challenges for SafeLine. So I'm just going to let that run. Start to see the queries are going to massively ramp up now. What I imagine though is it probably won't have as much impact, because what will happen is obviously SafeLine does have the ability to forward block stuff. So as it starts to see stuff, it will kind of prevent it from happening again. So let's kind of see if that block number goes up. So let's delve into it a little bit. Let's just do a quick refresh. Yeah, we can see the total numbers of blocks has gone up, the amount of requests, views, etc. And we can see what's been blocked, how many have been blocked, and the error rate. So that's quite good. We can't see the geolocation because, I'll be honest, I'm not coming from anywhere external, so I'm not expecting that. But what we can do is we can look at where the attacks come from, how long they lasted, and kind of really delve into that as well. So this is it's really nice to have that, and we can look at the logs to see exactly what's been happening. So we can see the code injections that I've tried to push through and various other things. So I suppose the next question is, what do I gain from going pro though? And this is where we really want to delve in a little bit more. So let me activate my key and we'll go through that. So I think one thing to note, that obviously I did run an initial test just to confirm that the data was piling through. So when I recorded this, it was absolutely nice and fresh. And that's why the numbers are doubled. So those blocked would have only been half, but either way, where they come in. So statistics, you can pretty much see where they are. You've got the data dashboard. That is one thing that is locked behind different areas. So I can't, can I change to? No, I need to change to Pro to update Dart theme. Don't worry, I'm going to be doing that in a moment. Applications, this is where you set up your applications. So in here, you can pretty much see the one I did earlier, but to kind of give you an idea, again, it works very similar to what you'd be used to. So if you're exposing something publicly on the internet, it's going to most likely be on 80 or 443, so they're already pre-canned. You can set up a reverse proxy, static files, etc., and they will just go into the tool fairly seamlessly. When it comes to the attacks, you can see the attacks that have happened, how long the durations were. You can then delve into them a little bit more. So if you want some more information on the logs, you can then delve in and actually see what's happened. You can set up custom rules for events. So whether you set up a custom rule for allowing certain traffic through, you've got HTTP floods. So obviously rate limiting. So it works a little bit like fail to ban, for example. And anything that's then sitting in the waiting room will be there. Anti-bot and auth as well. So there's two different areas that will really kind of delve into a little bit. If you look at the settings, if you've got any SSL certs in there, etc., they will be in there and protected. You've got your updates, and you can see where my Wireshark pointed those updates to later. And then in the management stage, you can obviously have API tokens. So I suppose one of the good things is this will probably open up the likes of ingesting this into Prometheus or Grafana. So actually, you can probably pull some of this data and do some really clever stuff with it. But anyway, let's upgrade and let's have a look what we gain. So I've now activated my license, so I should be able to see system logs, which is really good. So I can see who's logged in and where they've logged in from. I can now delve into the data dashboard and change the theme into dark mode. And that looks nice. I must admit, I'm impressed with that. That's pretty nice, to be honest. Obviously, if you've got geolocation stuff, you can kind of see where stuff's coming in. That's pretty special. I like that. Anyway, don't get dark mode on everything else, though. I don't think. I can't see it anyway, which is a bit frustrating. I wish it would have had dark mode on everything else, but either way. So I can see the data dashboard. I will get geolocation now available to me, so I can block by geolocation. And to be totally honest, though, actually, apart from the stuff down here, you're not really gatekeep that much, which is quite impressive. So from the free tier, there is a light one as well. You get quite a lot, and it's, you know, for a home lab tool that, you know, you're just trying to protect something. There's obviously some different performance modes in here, but yeah, I mean, notifications you could directly feed into the likes of Telegram and Discord, which is nice as well. So yeah, I mean, I suppose the price is probably what would put people off, and we'll get onto that in a moment. But it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what you can kind of gain from it. I haven't found a dark mode for the rest of the system. If they had that, maybe I'd buy it all the time. So let's just delve into a little bit more on the kind of pricing front and the key features of SafeLine. So as I said, you know, that's better than the diagram I put up earlier, but it kind of gives you an idea of the breakdown of how a WAF would work, or how in particular SafeLines work. So screen grab that one, I think. The unique value proposition, so they have that intelligence protection engine. It is very simple to use. I mean, I navigated around that very simply, to be honest, and the kind of usage scenarios. But this is primarily where I wanted to focus my time, and this is on the costing. So from a personal standpoint, you can absolutely get a very good working system way beyond what you need just on day dot, just with the personal one. What you can obviously then start to look at if you're using it more in a professional manner, so if you've got a business that you want to run, you probably would start to move up to the kind of light to give you at least the additional ability to add additional apps to it. So you're kind of using it in a more of a business sense at that point. You then also gain the likes of Discord and Telegram notifications and the ability to export the logs. Where you're getting into the kind of pro level is obviously it's then really going to start to look at load balancing a little bit more, kind of additional cyber attack detections, more per service type stuff. And they do have a custom model as well. I'll be totally honest, for most home labbers, you can probably get away with the personal, but it's very much worth trying at least the light and the pro, I believe, for a while, just to kind of get a bit of a feel about if that meets your certain needs and criteria. Depending on the size and scale of you as well, then obviously, you know, you might want to move up to that. But a personal will get you there. I mean, I always say with a lot of tools, when you're looking at purchasing something, is always give it a go first before you actually invest. So I did want to come back to this because I promised you I would be very upfront and very transparent about where this data is going. Now, I can't see inside what these TLS packets are, realistically, they're encrypted for a reason, but you can see where it's calling out to. And this is throughout the whole duration of not just this video, but also a bit longer. So basically, I had this running for probably about 20 or 30 minutes before I was doing some of the tests to actually just kind of poll this information in. And there's nothing in here that instantly stood out to me and made me think, crikey, what is this telling China or anywhere else? What I don't want it to. There's just some odd checks in there to kind of make sure that, one, maybe to make sure that the stuff's update, maybe to check the licensing. There's nothing in there that I'm kind of thinking it's not constantly polling all the time to kind of, sort of drop data and packets out. And I did notice a little bit of a spike when I was running the attack. So it's probably feeding some of that information back to their servers to obviously, kind of look at what new attack variants there are. And I fully understand that. And I would actually appreciate that from a WAF, to be honest. I want it to learn and grow. That's the whole point of it. But yeah, I mean, it's inconclusive in the fact that I don't know exactly what it's doing or what it's sending. But like I said, personally, I had no concerns. So here's the thing. Nobody ever really tells you how difficult it is self-hosting your own security. And at the end of the day, you just have to decide what's most important to you. At the moment, I'm going to choose a web application firewall that will block those 6,000 attempts that I tried on it today. And I'm not really going to worry too much about the fact that it may phone home to a couple of Caitlin servers just to check in occasionally, which, like every single web application firewall will do. The fact that it's going to China is not a massive concern to myself. But that's your choice to make. I'm not going to kind of lead you one way or the other, but at the end of the day, that's the whole review. It's just to decide whether or not this web application firewall is suitable for you as a home labber. And for the free version, absolutely, you've got nothing to lose, apart from, maybe your sanity worrying about where that data's going. We're always giving data anyway. Either way, I don't want to make that call for you. At the end of the day, it's free and you can pick up the free version and give it a try for yourself. And maybe if you do find something that I missed, absolutely, by all means in the comments, let me know. That's what they're there for. But either way, if you do decide to then go on and purchase it, there's also an affiliate link in the bottom there. You'll get a 5% discount and I'll get a slight little kickback as well. So if you have liked this video, you know what to do. Hit the like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.